When we look at the history of the estate, when George Vanderbilt first purchased this overworked farmland with really poor soil quality, Frederick Law Olmsted, the landscape architect, he suggested using animal manures as fertilizer to start to restore that poor overworked soil and start to get organic matter and nutrients back into our soil so that it could be productive again. And we're doing that here over 100 years later. We're following in the footsteps of Frederick Law Olmsted and George Vanderbilt. We're living that legacy in real time. I'm Kimber Jones. I'm the Agriculture and Natural Resources Coordinator here at Biltmore. Compost is the biochemical process of actually breaking down raw material in carbon and nitrogen form into inert organic compounds, essentially just making something that resembles soil. So we're collecting all of the materials that we used to compost, so that's like from horticulture change-outs, all of our floral waste, spent hay from the agriculture and equestrian departments, grape hulls from the winery after we crush the grapes to make wine. So we're still composting all of those materials, and in addition, we're just adding these two new really big waste streams. So we're collecting back-of-house food waste from the restaurants, and then we're also collecting manures and animal wastes from all the different animal outlets on the estate. So that's Biltmore Equestrian Center with our horses, also our cattle program, sheep, hogs, the farmyard. So we're taking these waste streams, these things that would otherwise go in the trash, we're just heating them up and letting all of these tiny little microbacteria actually break down those organic compounds into their corresponding parts. And what we get is this beautiful, usable product that's of really high value that we can use right here on the estate.
This is our brand new compost facility that we have here. We have 5 bays right here where we are putting what we call active compost, which is the stuff that we have just mixed up between the food, herbaceous material, manure. And how we do that is we take all that, put it in our big mixer, which that can mix 3,000 to 5,000 pounds of our material. And then we'll take that from that mixer, put it into these bays, which can hold about 5 to 6 batches in those bays. And that's roughly 30,000 pounds a bay. So you can repeat that over 4 different bays that we have there. My name is Eli. I'm the Natural Resource Coordinator. It's about 28 days to go through this whole system. By the end of 14 days, you'll start to see those temperatures internally dropping, which is, that means that those microbes are going back to sleep. They've done their job. There's not as much, active food material in there that they're breaking down. Then we'll take it off out of those bays and they'll sit for roughly another 11 days. Which one gives you another time that you're flipping that material and it gets hot again. So if there's anything that has been missed in the pile, it's gonna, heat up again and they might get some stuff that's been left over. And it's just, that's our curing stage. And then it just goes right out into the field.
So generally, the limiting factor with compost is really the piles don't get hot enough. If your compost gets hot enough, you can break down anything. And the reason that those piles might not get hot enough is the bacteria that are actually doing the work of breaking down the materials. They need air. Just like us, they need to take a breath. It's an aerobic process. So in traditional compost, you may have heard, well, you need to turn the compost, you need to move it around. That's really to mix air back into the pile, and that keeps the bacteria happy. When the bacteria are breathing well, they have lots of oxygen, they're working really hard, a side effect of that is heat. And that heat is what allows that compost process to really break down all materials. So the way we've solved for that in our composting is we have PVC pipes in the ground, and they are connected to an air compressor with tiny little holes that's pumping air up through the system constantly. So that means we don't have to go in and actually physically move the compost, so it's way less labor intensive, because those bacteria, they're just getting fed that air 24/7. And at the end of the day, it means a more consistent, less labor-intensive product that we can do in almost half the time. I think this program is really amazing because it is so much the ethos of Biltmore. And the beauty in that is that we're looking backwards to our legacy and our history, but also looking forward to the future and sustainability for our company. Because not only are we taking waste streams out of what could be going to the landfill or not being used, we're creating a valuable, usable product. And so those are kind of really, in sustainability, the gold standard are these closed loop systems. All of the inputs become high value outputs and no waste is created, and that's what we're doing here, which I'd like to think that George Vanderbilt would be really proud of.